It begins with a white truck screeching to a halt outside Buddy Webb's window late one Sunday night. The brakes slam, the lights glare, and the noise shakes him awake. The streets of Midland were usually still at this hour, but Webb had grown accustomed to noises that made him uneasy. Footsteps in his attic, faint rattles in the walls, the creak of doors that he swore he had locked. This was different. Through the blinds of his bedroom window, he caught the glare of headlights as a white truck sped down the road. The engine roared, far too loud for the empty street. Then, without warning, the truck slammed on its brakes directly in front of his house. The sudden stop rattled the windowpane and echoed like a threat. Buddy froze. Weeks earlier, he had received a death threat. It hadn't been vague either. It was the kind of threat that kept you checking the locks 3 times a night. Now, with the truck idling outside, it felt as though whoever had promised violence had finally arrived. He waited for a knock on the door, or gunfire. Neither came. The truck sat there, engine growling in the darkness. After what felt like minutes, it revved again, rolling slowly forward until it disappeared down the block. To anyone else, it might have been nothing. A reckless driver, a drunk neighbour. But for Buddy Webb, it was confirmation. The threat was real, the timing too precise, the noise too deliberate. This was not random. And worse, he believed the people meant to protect him already knew. The Midland Police Department had been made aware of the threat 3 weeks earlier, yet here he was, alone, unguarded, and now convinced he was a target in a much larger game. Buddy would later say that this was the night he truly understood what he was up against. It wasn't just burglars, intruders, or pranksters. It was something deeper, something organised, something hidden beneath the surface of the quiet Texas suburb where he thought he had bought a safe home. This was the first sign. The white truck outside the window, the prelude to years of fear, investigation, and an obsession that would consume his life. When Buddy Webb first arrived in Midland, Texas, it was supposed to be a fresh start. He was 25, working for a gas company, and transferred into the oil town with steady pay and the promise of stability. The year was 2008. He had no reason to expect that the home he was about to buy would become the centerpiece of his deepest fears. The house stood behind a Home Depot, just off a quiet lane where delivery trucks often came and went. It wasn't remarkable. A single-story home, modest in design, with a backyard that backed up against the retail store's property line. For Buddy, it seemed like the right choice. Affordable, convenient, and close enough to work. But there was something about its history. The previous owner, a young man not much older than Buddy, had died suddenly just weeks before Webb moved in. No one seemed eager to discuss the details. A death, unexplained and recent, hung over the property like a shadow. Some neighbours whispered about it, others avoided the subject entirely. At first, Buddy didn't dwell on it. People die every day for 1,000 reasons. He told himself it was a coincidence. But coincidences have a way of looking different in hindsight, and soon he would begin to see that death as the first puzzle piece in a much darker picture. From the day he moved in, strange things began to happen. He noticed doors unlocked that he swore he had locked, items slightly out of place, footsteps in the night when he was certain he was alone. At first, he blamed himself. Maybe he was careless, maybe he was hearing things, but his unease grew sharper with every passing week. Determined to prove he wasn't imagining it, Buddy started documenting everything. He took photographs of his rooms in the morning and again in the afternoon, checking for differences. He set traps, locks, alarms, and improvised measures designed to tell him if anyone had entered while he was away. More often than not, the signs were there. Drawers disturbed, personal items shifted, subtle changes no burglar would bother making. Some nights he stayed awake just to listen. The faint sound of movement seemed to come from inside the walls or directly above his head in the attic. After more than a year of obsessive observation, Buddy was certain. Someone was entering his house, and they weren't coming through the doors or windows. He was being watched, studied, invaded, by intruders who moved in ways he could not yet understand. The breakthrough came not from his own imagination, but from a casual suggestion. One day, after hearing his story, someone asked him, "Have you ever thought they might be coming from below, from the floor?" It was an idea Buddy had never considered. Yet the more he thought about it, the more it explained. The constant sense of intrusion, the unbroken locks, the noises in the night. The house wasn't just a house, it was sitting on top of something. And if that was true, then the death of the previous owner was no longer just a coincidence. By 2010, Webb was calling police about break-ins, strange noises in his attic, and intruders climbing through his walls. In 2012, he contacted the DEA, reporting what he believed to be a secret drug tunnel beneath his home. According to him, they ignored his claims. 2 weeks later, he was shot inside his own house, from below. Webb recalls the night vividly. Burglar alarms blared, then a sudden blast tore into his foot. He collapsed, crawling towards safety. He says his phone had mysteriously disappeared earlier that day, and when he tried to use his cordless phone, the line was dead. Security cameras captured his desperate crawl outside, followed by the arrival of 2 unidentified men dressed like police officers. Webb insists no official police call was ever dispatched to his home that night. His cameras later showed the security system being tampered with. Webb believes the previous homeowners were also killed as part of the same operation that targeted him. He suspects law enforcement itself may be involved. Since then, he has monitored police radios, collecting incidents he says support his theory that Midland authorities are tied to drug tunnels, human trafficking, and even underground prisons. One case Webb ties to his theory is the disappearance of 13-year-old Haley Dunn in 2010. Her remains were discovered in 2013 in Scurry County. Webb claims it is no coincidence that just 2 days before her remains were found, he emailed the Department of Justice urging them to investigate tunnels near his home. He sees this as proof of a broader conspiracy involving children, trafficking, and secret facilities. Determined to prove intruders are still entering his home, Webb installs cameras in his attic. He captures motion detections, shifted objects, and noises. He points to cracks in foundations, nearby construction, and unusual machines as more signs of hidden tunnels. His YouTube channel becomes a catalogue of these observations, attracting both curious viewers and harsh skeptics. Court documents from 2017 cast Webb in a troubling light. His ex-wife filed for a protective order, describing him as delusional and dangerous. She alleged he interrogated her about prostitution rings and tunnels, even locking her in a room. Detectives who investigated Webb's shooting concluded it was likely self-inflicted by a tripwire shotgun he had set up in his own home. To them, he wasn't the victim of a shadowy conspiracy. He was unraveling. Today, Webb continues to document his experiences, insisting he is the target of a vast cover-up. His house bristles with security systems, cameras, and alarms. He claims intruders still break in, though his footage rarely shows anyone. His belief in underground networks, corrupt police, and murdered homeowners remains unshaken. So is Buddy Webb uncovering a dark secret in Midland, or is he trapped inside a story of his own making? Governments have, without doubt, hidden tunnels, black sites, and secret operations throughout history. But in Webb's case, the evidence is fragmented, circumstantial, and clouded by his own paranoia. His story stands on the edge between disturbing conspiracy and personal tragedy, a modern urban legend unfolding on YouTube